He was one of a host of heroes to spin off of a successful newspaper comic strip to radio, movies, and TV. He was the American counterpart to Britain's Sherlock Holmes, while his contemporaries had the benefit of superpowers or the help of high-tech gadgetry to combat evil.
Got him, Frank.
Or the advantage of highly developed muscles. Our hero only had a badge, a gun, and a fierce commitment to the cause of justice. For more than 50 years, he has been America's foremost lawman. He is Detective Dick Tracy. October 4th, 1931. President Herbert Hoover resided in the White House. Silent movies were a thing of the past, and Amos and Andy were the darlings of the radio airwaves. And on that day, a new comic strip made its debut in the Detroit Mirror. The strip was the brainchild of cartoonist Chester Gould. As a child, Gould was inspired to draw comics when he read the Mutt and Jeff strip. As a struggling young artist, Gould made his way to Illinois. Lawlessness and lurid tales of crime were the order of the day. Radio newscasts and the tabloids' lead stories generally centered on illegal activities. Gould, largely inspired by the parade of criminals, created a new detective hero whom he called Plainclothes Tracy. After seeing sample strips, the publisher of the New York News decided to give the new character a trial run. But he wanted one change. The character would be called Dick Tracy, since policemen were referred to as Dicks in the slang language of the day. The competition for newspaper space was fierce. However, the Dick Tracy strip caught the interest of the public, and the comic began to appear in dozens of cities. Dick Tracy segued into the comic pages, sharing space with such popular strips as Gasoline Alley, Little Orphan Annie, Betty Boop, Blondie, and with Gould's childhood inspirations, Mutt and Jeff. For the next 46 years, Gould made the daily commute from suburban Illinois to downtown Chicago, where he maintained offices at the Tribune. In the very first week of doing the strip, he featured the slaying of Dick's fiancee's father, Jeremiah Trueheart, marking the first time a murder appeared in the funnies. The gunfire featured in the comic strip carried over to the Tracy radio show. Week after week, the sound effects team was called upon to create the believable rat-a-tat firing of machine guns, rough and tumble fistfights, and even stabbings. The radio incarnation of Tracy was sponsored by Oatmeal Cereal, which created a variety of giveaway premiums, which were redeemed for cereal box tops. And as demand for Dick Tracy premiums grew, a number of Tracy toys turned up. With such interest in Dick Tracy running high, Republic Pictures saw the potential for turning the comic strip into an action-packed movie serial. Ralph Byrd, who had only made his screen debut a few years earlier in Chinatown Squad, was chosen for the title role in the 1937 release Dick Tracy. Ralph Byrd was the definitive Tracy. The same year Dick Tracy was made, Byrd also starred in 2 additional movie serials. SOS Coast Guard, which was also made by Republic Studios,
Hold it. Come on, back up.
and the independently produced serial Blake of Scotland Yard.
Oh, thanks, Jerry. You should have a medal for this job.
Skip the medal and make it an orchid. We're not out of this mess yet.
The non-Tracy serials were successful. However, the die was cast, and Byrd was to be forever cast as Dick Tracy. For 15 consecutive weeks, throngs of young and old fans lined up to see each new installment of the Dick Tracy serial. The episodic adventures were released to theaters at a time when film serials had caught the imaginations of moviegoers worldwide. The Dick Tracy serial had to live up to such high standards set by top cliffhangers like Flash Gordon.
To the caverns for your lives! It's locked.
Ace Drummond.
Leaning on it. Step on it.
It's wide open now.
I can't make it. We'll crash. Drummond made it, didn't he? They're finished.
The New Adventures of Tarzan. And the science fiction adventure Undersea Kingdom.
Flush the disintegrator. Stay down the mountain. Billy, jump for that sandbank.
With a formidable competition of Flash, Ace, Tarzan, and the futurized Undersea Kingdom, Dick Tracy needed to deliver top-flight action and adventure, and deliver it did. Dick Tracy had all the elements which make a movie serial great. First, there was a mysterious evil villain as the story's centerpiece. The Lame One, also known as the Spider, was a character with no redeeming value. A touch of science fiction was blended into the story via the Lame One's futuristic airplane, the Flying Wing. And a highly dramatic conflict of interests for Tracy came about when his own brother, Gordon, is turned into a mindless slave by the Lame One's minion, the hunchback genius Dr. Moloch.
He won't die. But by means of this operation, a simple altering of certain glands, he will be unable to distinguish between right and wrong.
In that event, he will be very useful to us, Moloch. Very useful.
For comic relief, the character Mike McGurk was borrowed from the comic strip. And borrowed from countless B-Westerns was perennial Western sidekick Smiley Burnett. Burnett shed his 6 guns and cowboy boots in favor of suit and tie to portray Dick Tracy's pal. But most importantly, Dick Tracy was packed from head to tail with fistfights, airplane stunts, car chases, and disasters.
Red! Cracking up!
The custom of every serial was to end each episode with a hero in a life-threatening situation, which would leave audiences guessing and arguing as to how the hero would save himself. Typical of the cliffhangers found in Dick Tracy was the end of Chapter 2 when his airplane meets with a colossal accident. How did Tracy survive the fiery accident? The following chapter of the story begins with a recap of the previous week's adventure. We see the results of the crash. But in the new footage, we see Tracy hasn't even been scratched, and it's back to business. Finally, Chapter 15 arrives. At last, audiences would see the lame one, and Dick Tracy would confront his nemesis. The Dick Tracy serial turned out to be a fantastic success for Republic Pictures, so it seemed logical to begin work on a second adventure. Once again, Republic demonstrated that by taking a proven property, a comic strip favorite, that audiences would swarm to the theaters to see their favorite characters make the transition from newsprint to the silver screen. During the 2 decades that serials enjoyed their utmost popularity, the 30s and 40s, over 24 comic page characters appeared in serials. Besides those we've already seen, most notably there was Red Ryder, Captain Marvel, Mandrake the Magician, Terry and the Pirates, Captain America, the Green Archer, Batman and Robin, Buck Rogers, Don Winslow, the Green Hornet, and a host of others competed for theater screen space before, during, and after World War II. Many elements foreshadowing the Great War were contained in the second Dick Tracy serial, Dick Tracy Returns. Ralph Byrd was back as Tracy, who has now been promoted to G-Man for this adventure. Tracy is assigned to end a reign of terror instigated by a family of terrorists and saboteurs, the Pa Stark Gang. In the course of the serial, Tracy manages to eliminate the gang one by one until the leader and worst of the bunch, Pa Stark, remains. The Pa Stark character was played by the man who would be considered the greatest of all serial villains, Charles Middleton. Middleton was best known for his portrayal of Ming the Merciless in the Flash Gordon serials.
My forces have you surrounded, Tarkov, and they will attack if you do not surrender immediately.
Our mission is not only to save the world, but the universe as well.
The universe. I am the universe.
As Pa Stark, Middleton again turned in a tour de force performance. As a movie villain, he immediately alienated audiences when he unplugged a young G-Man's iron lung in Chapter 1 of the serial. 1938 audiences, caught up in the story, would greet Middleton's appearances with hisses, boos, and a barrage of popcorn and candy debris thrown at the screen. He was genuinely a villain that audiences loved to hate. And Pa Stark's life comes to an end when he perishes in a fiery airplane crash. In 1939, Dick Tracy's G-Men pitted G-Man Tracy against the master criminal Zarnoff, who was revived by members of his gang following his execution. Leaving Tracy tied to a tree to die of thirst in the desert, Zarnoff drinks from a stream of water, which, luckily for Tracy, is poisoned. Zarnoff perishes, and Tracy is saved by his fellow G-men. The last Dick Tracy serial was released in 1941, Dick Tracy vs. Crime Incorporated. It saw Ralph Byrd as Tracy doing battle with a criminal who had the power to make himself invisible, the Ghost. In this tale, a group of men, known as the Council of Eight, forms a committee to fight crime in New York. One of the 8 members of the council is actually the Ghost. Despite his power of invisibility, the Ghost is killed when Tracy uses bloodhounds to track the evildoer, who is electrocuted when he attempts to flee over high-tension wires. With the completion of the film, there were no plans to produce a 5th Dick Tracy serial. Ralph Byrd assumed he could now retire the character. However, this hiatus would not last very long. The Republic serials did not focus, as a rule, on the comic strip villains which appeared in Chester Gould's cartoon panels. But in 1945, RKO Studios purchased rights to the character. The studio envisioned producing a series of top-grade films which would be closer in tone to the comic strip. While this concept was applauded by the public, RKO's choice of a leading man was not. Morgan Conway, who was already under contract, was given the formidable task of filling Ralph Byrd's shoes and taking over the Tracy role. The first of the 4 films released was Dick Tracy. The opening moments of the film quickly established Morgan Conway's Tracy as a tough, quick-thinking city cop.
We're waiting, Johnny.
Homicide, Dick. Just got the call. You better step on it. 2240 Lakeview Road.
Murder, 911 Laurel?
911 Laurel? That's where I live. My mother. You said murder. My mother's there. What's happened to her? I gotta get to my mother.
I've got to find out who robbed that payroll truck. Who are you shielding, Johnny?
I gotta get out of here.
Who held up the truck?
Flip Gordon.
Your mother's all right, Johnny.
But you just said that.
The only way I could get you to talk and clear yourself at the same time. All right, boys, clean up Johnny and send him home. Tell the chief it's okay. And pick up Flip Gordon. Yes, sir.
True to its word, the studio brought dozens of the Tracy comic strip characters to the screen, including Junior, Tracy's adopted son, who was featured prominently in the series.
Something mighty funny happened around here last night.
That so?
Yeah, there was a prowler in the house.
Anything missing?
Yeah, plenty.
Any clues?
I'm afraid I'll have to fingerprint you.
Hey, you don't suspect me.
Mrs. Carraway says a lot of stuff is missing from the icebox. Yeah, they sure do. Look at these, Dick.
You got me dead to rights, officer.
You better talk.
Might as well come clean.
It'll go a lot easier on you if you do. And on your accomplice, too.
How'd you know I wasn't alone?
Lipstick. Tess?
Yeah. But I'm taking the rap. It was too late to go to a restaurant, so we raided the kitchen.
Oh, heck, you confess too easy. I thought this case would take me all day.
So you could stay out of school?
Anne Jeffries played Tess Trueheart, whose romance with her favorite detective was also explored on screen. The flamboyant Shakespearean actor Vitamin Flintheart was often called upon to assist Tracy, as was the panhandling conman Sightless. And there was another very important carryover from the comics, the Rogues Gallery of Dick Tracy villains. Splitface, played by character actor Mike Mazurki, was a revenge-crazed serial killer in Dick Tracy. Splitface set about to murder all members of the jury which had sent him to prison. And the maniacal murderer had no mercy for anyone who was a threat to exposing him.
You shouldn't have come back here. I've been in jail for 24 hours.
I know that, you fool. I sent the lawyer that got you out.
Oh. Well, why did you want to get me out?
I wanted you out before you talked anymore. 14 will die, you said. But you were wrong. 15 will die.
No, don't.
Don't be frightened. This knife is very sharp. You won't hurt. Not like when I got this face. It wasn't done so nice. Besides, people won't have to look at you and turn sick at the sight of you.
No, it's no good killing me. She saw you. She knows you. She'll identify you.
Splitface's kidnapping of Tess Trueheart leads to his downfall, and finally good versus evil in a fight to the finish. The year following the Dick Tracy movie, Morgan Conway returned to the role once more in Dick Tracy versus Cue Ball. Cue Ball was a hardened criminal who became involved in a diamond robbery. Dick Wessel, as Cue Ball, quickly demonstrates he's a man to be reckoned with in the film's opening.
Give me them diamonds.
What I have...
Give me them. Hurry up. Try anything like that again and I'll have to hurt you. I didn't come here to do that. All I want is the diamonds. Give them to me.
Tracy solves this crime the old-fashioned way. He tails suspects and grills a variety of unsavory characters, such as Filthy Flora in his hunt for Cue Ball. The police dragnet for Cue Ball tightens, and Tracy closes in. Cue Ball and Tracy's inevitable confrontation at the movie's close features an exciting chase, which concludes with Cue Ball meeting a gruesome but justifiable end. Yielding to public demand, Morgan Conway was replaced when the third Dick Tracy film went into production, starring Ralph Byrd in Dick Tracy's Dilemma. As the Claw, actor Jack Lambert portrays another particularly ruthless lunatic, equipped with a steel claw hand which he uses to brutally murder his victims. As always, Tracy is able to obtain leads from the slimmest clues.
Is that him, Cud?
Yeah, that's the night watchman, all right.
Where was the body found?
On Macy near Grand, apparently thrown out of a car.
Did that kill him?
I know he was dead when he was tossed out. He was killed by a vicious blow that split his skull. As you can see, it's pretty ugly.
Looks like he'd been hacked with a cleaver.
I don't think so. A cleaver wouldn't tear the flesh like that. Well, it's a cinch it's not a bullet or a knife wound.
Here's what he had on him.
Hasn't been fired.
Well, poor fellow never had a chance to use it. Well, there's not much here. Hey, there's writing on it. What? It isn't very clear. We'll take a closer look at this in the laboratory.
D-A-I, could be an S-Y, could be Daisy. Now let's take a look at the next word. T-H-R-U, through.
The next one is easy. It's got to be of.
And the last one definitely is T-H-E-N, or that could be an M, them. It can't be through of them. It must be three of them. Hawks must have been trying to tell us that three men did the job.
3 daisies. Now we're getting into poetry.
This last scribbling looks like a license plate number. 6, 7... No, that could be a T, you see? 6T, N2, something, something. Whenever there's a T in a license plate number, it is... truck. You're right, Pat.
Then maybe he meant there were 3 daisies on a truck.
No, he would have written 3 daisies. Daisy and 3 of them indicate 2 separate ideas. I think Daisy was the name on the truck.
Then there were 3 guys driving it.
Yes, I think that's it. Now, let me have that, will you?
But it's Vitamin Flintheart who stumbles across the Claw's hideout. Fortunately for Vitamin, Tracy comes to his rescue. And in another audience-pleasing ending, the Claw gets his just desserts. In 1947, the last of the RKO Dick Tracy films was released. Dick Tracy Meets Gruesome billed the movie's villain, Boris Karloff, above Ralph Byrd's Tracy. As Gruesome, Karloff was one of Tracy's most colorful adversaries.
Gruesome, I'm so glad to see you. When'd you get out?
Relax, kid, relax. Rode the rods all night to get here.
Oh, swell. Did you break out?
Good behavior.
Gruesome comes across a supply of an experimental gas which temporarily freezes life. Presumed dead, he becomes reanimated at the morgue. He then secures a supply of the freezing gas and embarks on a series of bank robberies. Tracy's attempts to capture Gruesome continue to be frustrated until he hits upon the idea of masquerading as a former member of Gruesome's gang, whom Gruesome wants dead. The killer is surprised by Tracy, and in the best Dick Tracy tradition, the pair square off at one another. Dick Tracy Meets Gruesome signaled the end of the series, at least for a while. Tracy's contemporaries, the other movie detectives, found that with the close of the 1940s, the curtain was falling on B detective films. Such films, which had delighted audiences for nearly 20 years, usually were considered to be the lesser half of a double bill. Theater owners often considered the films fillers, but even though they were made for relatively low budgets and looked down upon by critics, the movie detectives captured the hearts and imaginations of millions of theatergoers. Ethnic variety seemed to be the key. Bulldog Drummond, the British adventurer who became entangled in a vast variety of crimes and mysteries, is a prime example. Bulldog Drummond was portrayed originally by Ronald Colman in the silent film era, as well as John Howard, seen here, Ron Randall, and Tom Conway, as the series neared the end of its theatrical run.
Sit down, Captain Drummond. You too, miss.
It seems you have the advantage.
But definitely. You may lower your hands.
Thank you. I believe it's customary to ask me I smoke, isn't it?
I trust you have better judgment than to attempt anything foolish.
I assure you, sir, my judgment is excellent. It's too bad you didn't take the brown suit. That gray doesn't become you.
I like it.
May I inquire what you intend to do?
Under different circumstances, you and I could work well together, Drummond.
You honor me, sir.
And then there was Mr. Moto, a Japanese detective who was well versed in the martial arts. Mr. Moto was 5'3", wore wire-rimmed spectacles, was soft-spoken, and yet he was able to deal with smugglers, enemy agents, criminal gangs, and villains who literally dwarfed him. Peter Lorre, as Mr. Moto, gained legions of new fans as he switched from playing villains to this hero. However, after his tenure as Mr. Moto, Laurie was again typecast in roles of madmen, maniacs, and murderers.
Alien.
An extremely popular detective series was Philo Vance. This suave, sophisticated detective utilized scientific reasoning in his crime detection. The debonair actor William Powell was the most popular performer to bring the character to life. He later modified this character for the Thin Man series.
Get him into an argument. Oh, I'll have him with me. I'm depending on his instinct. That's right. Thanks. If we can catch him off his guard, I think he'll give himself away. Come on, Markham. We've got to get there before 4:25.
Mr. Vance. Well, it's the first time we've used bloodhounds in police work since I wore high-button shoes.
And red flannel underwear?
Oh, I always wear red flannel underwear.
So do I. No right. Well, I'll take that right. You think you're both staining at midnight? Well, it won't work. You're going all right, Sir Thomas, but you're going alone.
Really?
Yes, and you're going now, right?
Philo Vance, unlike some of his detective contemporaries, never claimed to be a tough guy in the detective genre sense. As in this case, where he allows a canine to help extract a suspect's confession.
Take him off! Take him off! No!
Here, hold him. Why did you kill Archer Cole? Why did you kill him?
I didn't mean to kill him.
But you did, eh?
I tell you, I didn't mean to kill him. He struck me when I told him I wanted to marry Hilda. And I lost my head. I hit him with a poker.
There's your man, Sergeant. You made a fatal mistake, Reed, when you reached for that poker.
Somebody swiped my bracelets.
You dropped them in the pantry.
Oh.
Film fans will never forget the likes of Charlie Chan. With his #1 son, he'd shrewdly sift through dozens of clues, somehow managing to deduce their special significance. Boston Blackie was a former thief who learns the error of his ways and turns private detective and crime fighter. The Mr. Wong series starred Boris Karloff. In a departure from his monster roles, Karloff excelled as the ingenious Oriental sleuth. And then there was the Falcon, a well-to-do, sophisticated man about town. He was at ease at a formal society party or even when rubbing elbows with a band of criminals. These movie detectives, along with a host of others, joined Dick Tracy in his temporary retirement from the motion picture screen. Now a new screen, the TV screen, was the new star on the horizon. As millions of America's homes installed TV antennas on their roofs, Hollywood producers clamored for product to fill programming needs. History repeated itself as filmmakers turned once again to the ever-popular inspiration for new TV programs. Cartoon favorites who once dominated theater screens experienced a rebirth on TV. Home screens were illuminated by the familiar images of Joe Palooka, the Flying Tigers, Flash Gordon, Mandrake the Magician, Blondie, Superman, and of course, Ralph Bird as Dick Tracy. Fans welcomed his return.
Dick Tracy meets Heels Beals.
The Dick Tracy TV show looked to the Tracy comic strip for its inspiration. The characters in Tracy's TV series were portrayed as broadly as were those on the funny pages. Billy Benedict, Whitey of the popular Bowery Boys film series, plays the title role of Heels Beals. As the Tracy show was in production on the same studio lot, it was both convenient and cost-efficient for Benedict to dash back and forth between studio sound stages as he was needed.
Heels, I kind of hate to break into another joint so soon. The cops are still hot on that last job we pulled.
Listen, stupid. How much longer do you think I can take that varnished dame's guff? What do we take this job for anyway?
Well, you figured we could...
I figured one way. She sends us out to deliver all this fancy junk to the wealthy joints around here. We get a layout of the joints from the inside. Then we go back on our own time and we rob them blind, right?
Well, we've done it twice already. We've got enough hot merchandise now to start our own jewelry store.
Wait a minute. Listen to this. You hear that? That heel's still empty, chum. There's plenty of room left in there to stash old Lady Greenback's pearls. Did you see him on her yesterday when we lugged in that cabinet?
Yeah, I seen him. Do you think I'm deep?
Well, I got that safe pinpointed. Hello. Yeah, this is it. Nah, Miss Varnish ain't here. Who's calling?
Tracy. Tracy.
What did you say?
Dick Tracy. Yes, well, when Miss Varnish comes back, will you have her call police headquarters? That's right, police headquarters. Yes, thanks. I don't know who that guy is, Sam, but he's not very smart.
It was an old pal of ours, Dick Tracy.
I told you she knows something. I told you. She's already tipped off the cops. We gotta get out of here. We gotta.
We ain't going no place till we pull that Greenback's job. There's no lousy flatfoot that's gonna mess up my whole future.
If Tracy knows anything about us, we ain't got a future.
We got one more job to pull, and the Greenback's pearls will put us right smack up in the upper brackets again. And that's where Heels Beals belongs, and there's nothing gonna stop me, nothing. Not even Dick Tracy.
Episodes of the Tracy series were shot in just 3 days, with editing and post-production taking an additional 2 days. 39 episodes of the average 50s TV program were shot each season. By the 1980s, only 18 to 22 new episodes of a series are produced.
This time and I built it. Here. Stop there. Here. Here. Any luck, Tracy?
Well, the same clean-cut job as usual, with murder as the bonus. How's that heel print coming?
It's pretty small. It might show up in plaster. We'll know better when I get this impression finished.
Not much of a print, is it, Sam?
No, pretty small heel, all right.
Now, that's that.
I still say that you didn't have to kill old man Greenbacks. We got enough to worry about without murder.
Why don't you talk a little louder, stupid? Maybe the Varnish dame hasn't heard enough already. Maybe you'd like to write out a confession. Well, answer the phone, stupid.
Okay, Heel.
Don't bother, darling. I wouldn't want to spoil your rest. I'll take it in here. Oh, hello, Mr. Tracy. No, I never did get the message.
Yes, they're right here in the shop with me now. They're glad to get rid of them.
No, don't worry. I'll see that they don't get away. I will see that they're turned over to you direct.
What do we do, Heels?
Shut up. I'm gonna think.
Come on, Sam, you can help me pick up a couple of end tables of Miss Varnish's.
End tables?
That's right.
So what's the rush?
Well, Tess ordered them months ago.
Yeah, I know. What's the real reason?
Did you notice the date on the sales slip that Greenbacks got from Miss Varnish?
No. Why?
Yesterday's date. The same day that he was robbed and murdered.
So?
So it isn't much of a lead, but it's all we've got. Maybe Miss Varnish knows something that we don't know. Come on.
Get this. One sign of funny stuff, and you and the copper are both dead pigeons. And it goes for you, too, Hefty. Now, get rid of them as quick as you can.
If you like, I'll have them delivered.
Oh, no, thank you. I'll take them. Tess is too eager to see them.
Nice going. You got rid of them.
Thank you, darling.
And now we're going to get rid of you.
The early 50s TV programs incorporated a good share of violence. Although the program was aimed at a juvenile audience, on-screen murders and shootings were not uncommon. Programming executives shortly would yield to parental complaints, and scenes of violence would be considerably modified.
Murphy, if you must get piggyback rides, I suggest that you take Mr. Ketchum next.
Oh, no.
After 39 episodes were completed, Ralph Bird died and the program was halted. But with the advent of television, there was a rebirth of Dick Tracy toys and merchandise.
Calling all boys, calling all boys. Now you can listen to big-time radio programs. Yes, baseball, football, news of the world, and your favorite musical programs on your new Dick Tracy transistor radio receiver with shoulder holster. Everyone can hear. Or listen alone with your secret earplug. Tracy to kids. Come in, kids. It's here at last. The new Dick Tracy two-way wrist radio that keeps you in constant touch with your buddies. Easy to work. Up antenna, switch on, press talk button, and you broadcast from room to room and even house to house. No wires needed.
The powerful, fully transistorized Dick Tracy two-way wrist radio is a real electronic instrument.
Make sure all the fellows get their A-OK Dick Tracy wrist radio so they can keep in touch. Over and out. They said it couldn't be done. They said a gun that shoots through glass? Impossible. But it's here, now, with Dick Tracy's new silent ray gun and electronic target game. A gun that shoots a powerful silent ray. Hit the moving target. Shoot for skill. Develop a sharp eye and a steady hand. Improve your score. Sharpshooter, marksman, or expert. For every hit, the buzzer sounds. The better you hit, the higher you score. Only the new Dick Tracy target game has this electronic scoreboard. You can hit all the Dick Tracy bad guys as far as 30 feet away. You control the target speed yourself. Who said it couldn't be done? It's here now, the Dick Tracy electronic target game with special electronic scoring for skill and accuracy.
Other than a 1961 Dick Tracy cartoon program aimed at 6 to 10-year-olds, Tracy could only be found at his old mainstay, the comic pages. In the late 1970s and throughout the 1980s, Hollywood turned still again to America's comic book heroes. Now, with the added advantage of widescreen, color, high-tech special effects, and multi-million-dollar budgets, comic book heroes again demonstrated their staying power and box office strength. Superman starred Christopher Reeve. There was also the Lone Ranger, Flash Gordon, Sheena, Queen of the Jungle, and Tarzan. 1989 brought the box office bonanza Batman, with Michael Keaton in the title role, back to the screen. And as we approach the final decade of the 20th century, another multi-million-dollar film, inspired by a comic strip, is released. Dick Tracy. 60 years after his creation, a new generation is introduced to the crazy quilt collection of Tracy villains and allies. Superstar Warren Beatty plays the role of Tracy, and rock music star Madonna co-stars in the film. The Dick Tracy character has come a long way from the four-panel black and white comic strip which debuted in the Detroit Mirror newspaper. The legacy has been enjoyed by countless millions in all media from the Depression through the 1980s. The high ideals and standards Tracy believes in have been berated by critics and cynics, but Tracy has prevailed long after his detractors have been forgotten. The children who left theaters armed with their Dick Tracy toys and adjourned to backyards and sandlots to vigorously recreate his adventures now witness their grandchildren performing the same ritual. Why does Dick Tracy endure? Perhaps the Tracy character taps an emotion within which still clings to high ideals and the notion that good shall prevail, as Dick Tracy prevails.
It's Dick. Dick's in trouble. Come on, Mike. very close to that fire. You've got to. Dick Tracy's aboard that ship.
Yes, but it's mighty hot up there. Head for the big pier. That's the nearest way home.